And here we are at Judges chapter 8, verse 11. And Gideon went up by the way of them who dwelt in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and smote the host, for the host was secure. Notes, or thought they actually were anyways, verse 12. And when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them, and took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomforted all the host. Notes, now Gideon's attention was directed at these 2 kings, so some of the 15,000 may have escaped. However, to be sure, they would no more harm Israel. Verse 13. And Gideon the son of Joash returned from battle before the sun was up, and caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and inquired of him, and he described him unto the princes of Succoth, and the elders thereof, even 70 men. Notes, well, that would be 77. Verse 15. And he came unto the men of Succoth, and said, Behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom you did upbraid me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread unto your men who are weary? And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. Notes, well, it seems to be that they were put to death. Verse 17. And he beat down the tower of Penuel, and killed the men of the city. Notes, well, if he killed these, then he killed those of Succoth as well, okay? Verse 18. Then said he unto Zebah and Zalmunna, What manner of men were they whom you slew at Tabor? And they answered, As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. Notes, now at this stage, these 2 heathen kings seemed not to have known that these men of whom they killed were actually brothers of Gideon. Verse 19. And he said, They were my brethren, even the sons of my mother, and as the Lord lives, if you had saved them alive, I would not kill you. Notes, so exactly when his brothers had lost their lives, we aren't really actually told, but we can tell that Gideon's not too happy with these things going on. Verse 20. And he said unto Jether, his firstborn, Up and kill them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, Rise you, and fall upon us. For as the man is, so is his strength. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Notes, now these were crescent-shaped symbols, ornaments, if you will, and they were made of gold and silver, which as well as chains were hung as ornaments on their camels' necks. Verse 22. And the men of Israel said unto Gideon, Rule you over us, both you and your son, and your son's son also, for you have delivered us from the hand of Midian. Note, in essence, they wanted Gideon to be a king over Israel. And however, the time predicted by Moses that a king would in fact rule over Israel was not come yet. That's back in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14 through 15. We're going to see just how smart Gideon actually is. Verse 23. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Notes, well, point blank, Gideon answered correctly. The first king that they actually had was by man's own election and man's own choosing. And as we will read later, Saul proved to be good at first, but disastrous in the end. If it would have been the Lord's choice, everything would have went much, much smoother. Anyways, verse 24. And Gideon said unto them, I would desire a request of you, that you would give me every man the earrings of his prey. For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. In verse 25, and they answered, We will willingly give them. And they spread a garment, and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, Beside ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about their camels' necks. Notes, this was, give or take, about maybe $250,000 worth of money, or worth, I should say, verse 27. Well, think about it before I go on. The purple dye, if I'm historically accurate with what I say, the purple dye that was used to, I guess you could say, dye their garments was extremely uber expensive, and some people have taught that it may have actually been the most worthwhile and costly substance on planet Earth at that time. And if that's true, well, obviously my figures will be wrong. But anyways, verse 27, and Gideon made an ephod thereof, and put it in the city, even in Orpha, and all Israel went thither a-whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. Notes, now this is obviously very displeasing to the Lord, because these Israelites are beginning to follow this thing and worship it. Why did Gideon do what he did, and why did Israel worship this thing? What is more commendable and pleasing to the religious mind than to use the wealth of the enemy in making a religious symbol or an ephod? Was not an ephod a Bible garment? Was it not of divine ordination? And Gideon put his foot in the snare, okay? And the very man who had destroyed a gross form of idolatry in his very home and his city set up a refined form of the same evil in his kingdom. Gideon was obviously not a very... He wasn't perfect, but I think he was trying to do the right thing. Anyways, verse 28. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal, who is also called Gideon, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. And his concubine, who was in Shechem, she also bore him a son, in whose name he called Abimelech. And Gideon the son of Joash died in the good old age, and was buried in a sepulchre of Joash's father in Ophrah of the Abizarites. Okay, notes. Now, Gideon actually remains to us as one of the most unusual, probably one of the more remarkable characters of the Old Testament. And he did have his faults and his blemishes, and he was not exactly spoiled, but he still was a very great man, and I do believe that he was an eminent and really, really good servant of God. You know, whenever you weigh the good with the bad, he did a whole lot more good, way more good than he did bad. Okay, verse 33, and we're going to kick right back into another low gear. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again and went a-whoring after Balaam, and made Baal Berioth, or Baal Berith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel. Notes, forgetfulness of God is often the parent of ingratitude to men. The heart of stone, which is not touched by the love of Christ, is also insensible to the kindness of man. And we will pick up in Judges chapter 9. Thank you, and God bless.